Hello and welcome to the Second Row podcast. My name is Parker Kelly, aka the Second Row, and we're here every week to talk about all things Connacht and Irish rugby. It is very Connacht rugby light this week, as it is European Finals week. And as always, I am joined by Will Foley. How are you getting on, Will?
I'm doing all right. The weather is sort of helping relieve the bad weekend of rugby in that sense. But I suppose we could start with Connacht news. Connacht confirmed in the Champions Cup next year, so we can make sure we get Connacht up front.
That is true.
Uh,
I'm wearing a
with,
black.
with like full on dancing on the grave energy 10 minutes after the result, putting out a tweet about it.
I couldn't. I laughed so much. He's like, "Jesus, let's wait till the morning." Like, come on,
Leaving the night to at least,
It's actually why I'm wearing my black Connacht jersey today, like because
for mourning. You want to be
mourning the death of Irish rugby. If you're to believe some of the hot takes we've
Well, look, I assume the
year.
IRFU will disband at least by next weekend or at the end of the season at the very least.
Oh
right?
yeah, everyone's been shot out of cannons and the baby's been thrown out the bathwater. All
Absolutely.
of those things. So do not worry. There's no such thing as a take too hot around a double Irish loss.
Oh yeah.
I think though this is going to be a very low energy podcast. One, not because of the matches. We were both at a wedding yesterday for a mutual friend, and we are both I'm exhausted. I've been up since 6 o'clock with a baby, so
and neither of us actually drink, so it's not a hangover before so oddly enough,
weirdly, if you drink enough sugary drinks and not enough water, you get a sugar crash the next day.
We're close enough to 40 that staying up late is a hangover.
Yeah, pretty much. But there is a few bits of rugby news that we can talk about. I think we'll start with Ian Flanagan. I think with the most chicken shit version of an interview I've ever seen in my life. Ian Flanagan's come out with the Irish Examiner talking about all things that happened with the Randall signing and the failures and this and that and allaying rumors and like saying this didn't happen. I was like, yeah, cool. You released it on a Saturday of the Champions Cup final. That's the story here. It doesn't matter what you say. You try to hide it effectively. It's like you buried this on the big rugby weekend of the year, one of them anyway, when all the main rugby reporters are in Bilbao. It's the most chicken shit version of anything I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, like he didn't do this interview with Murray Kinsella or
Jerry
Thornley or like Rory or any of the big names. He didn't do it with like even what might have been a little bit softer, maybe not fair to him in that sense, but like he could have even done it with Donald Lenihan or something like that, like who does a lot of work for the Irish Examiner and all that kind of thing. But no, he does it on a Saturday, it comes out on a Saturday. It's behind a paywall as well. Obviously, it's not one of the free articles on the Examiner.
Sure, why not?
Because why not? And it's just.
And look, don't get me wrong. I have no problem about the paywall thing. Like, good journalism needs to be kind of
paid for.
It's just if he wants to get his message out there, that wasn't the best way to do it. Yeah. Everything about this screams what's happening in Munster not changing anytime soon. It's like.
It provides him the cover that when he doesn't also when he gets asked these questions in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah.
He's
never going to get asked these questions. This is it. He's done. Like he's.
But that's my point. Is it like he'll just be like, well, I've already like you can refer to my article in the Examiner, right? Like this is his deflection now from interview requests or from clarification requests from some of the bigger names in the space and stuff like that, right?
Box ticking exercise has been undertaken and dealt with. It just like as much as there's elements about there's the Munster side of the story about things that are RFU and everything like that. The big story is when he released this, and that's what people should focus on. Like in terms of our Munster going to change, you don't have an attitude of wanting to change or do things differently by releasing it on this weekend. You're not portraying yourself in that open way that people are expecting.
And I think
for me.
I think the argument that like there's an IRFU problem at the center of this, like that argument from a Munster point of view would hold more water if the three other provinces weren't currently performing well in general. Now, leaving performances aside this weekend, but like you have two Irish teams in European Cup finals, you have Connacht performing well. I'm not saying that there's not problems with the IRFU. I don't want to say that there's not problems.
How about say performing well in terms of off the pitch and like in their
management,
and things like that,
of the clubs and stuff like that, and they're like the settledness, to bring it close to pitch, maybe the settledness of their coaching setups.
Yes, and
over the last number of years.
All those little things, all connected. But that's like that came out. Heard bits. It doesn't fill me full of confidence that Munster are going to rapidly change or drastically change how they do things in the coming time. So, look, give it a read yourself, make your own conclusions. But remember, he tried to bury this on a Saturday afternoon off a Champions Cup rugby, so he's clearly not happy what he's putting out. Or
in fairness to him, he put it out at 6 a.m. on a Saturday. But yes.
Oh yeah, that makes
all the difference.
Yeah, it makes all the difference. The other kind of bigger news with Jimmy Duffy leaving Ulster is they have a new forwards coach that is ex-All Black prop Clark Dermody. I think this is a smart coaching decision. He's ex-All Black, knows how to play at the highest level, but has played in Northern Hemisphere, coaching the Highlanders at the moment, has a good range of experience that I think will really help push forward this Ulster team, Ulster pack to another level. Not that Jimmy Duffy wasn't doing such a thing, but if you're getting someone new to come in, you want a step up, or you want someone who's got a ranging experience, but also knows Northern Hemisphere rugby.
Yeah, and for those that aren't aware, he played for London Irish for a time and stuff like that, and all of his coaching has been Southern Hemisphere. To be fair, it's been all at the Highlanders in that sense. So I think it'll be interesting to see how he adjusts to coaching in the IRFU system. But there's similarities there, I think, with New Zealand rugby and Irish rugby in terms of the role that the governing body plays in the club game and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Not exactly the same, but there's it won't be alien to him, say, as if he was coming from France or something like that, right?
Yeah, definitely. It seems an interesting call, and it seems like an interesting appointment, and there's a nice batch of young forwards there, and also that if they get the right coaching, and hopefully this is it for them. We've seen glimpses that they were getting good coaching this year in their how they've improved and getting into Irish squad. So if that can step up and continue, that's all good news for Ulster. And I think the future is what Ulster should be focusing after this weekend, not the present.
Yeah. And fairness to him, he's got head coach experience. He was head coach of Highlanders for a couple of years as well before they brought in Jamie Joseph and all that sort of stuff. So I think it'll be interesting to see what he wants to achieve now. He's been a forwards coach there for about 2 years before he comes here. So it'll be interesting to see
what he's looking to do,
what he's looking to achieve in that sense, right? As well. So, but I think I'm a big fan anyway, I think, of bringing in some outside experience into your coaching ticket, right? It's useful to get people with different perspectives in. I think he's coming in at an interesting time into Ulster rugby as well, right, for this summer, and where they are. And we'll get into it a little bit with the game now, because their season is done, right? That's the end of their season this week. So there will be interesting postmortems for them, and a new coach coming in with a new vision, or not even a new vision, but a new way of working could be good for them.
Yeah, it's. I think it's needed. There's. I think this is a nice segue into the match. That kind of that bite and that power up front is something that is needed in this group. Or that ability to make gain line when you're not the dominant pack, and how to set a platform for a back line when you're not the dominant pack. And I think that could be the something they need to build on with this team. I think that leads us into the Montpellier Ulster match, a 59-26 in what was a blisteringly warm game. And I think the two of us saw this in stop motion from memory.
No, I did see it on TV for a while, so it was fine.
Oh, you're fine.
But if anybody was watching it on Sky Go or something like that, it was in stop motion. Which I'm going to put down to a symptom of heat, maybe, for some reason.
Yeah, just there's something fried in the background, and that heat was it was humid as well over there. I know it wasn't good conditions on Friday night for anyone to play. I think it could.
Well, it had been 39 degrees during the day.
Yeah, and then
it was 31, 32 degrees at 8 p.m. It's an unpleasant.
That's
level of heat. But even just the warming up and the getting a good night's sleep the night before, particularly for Ulster players who are not going to be used to that kind of temperature at the best of times.
Yeah, and I think that you kind of tell that was in the Ulster game. A lot of drop balls, slippery hands. Ian Madigan on comms was sweaty's worse than wet than rain, because you can't dry. It's always there.
It's a slicker ball. Yeah.
It's really weird. I understand that. And that added with the what clearly after Ulster's fast start were nerves from Ulster. You could tell this was for a lot of them their first time in a big occasion into a final, and you have to caveat a lot of Ulster's performance with first final for a lot of these team players. First, biggest game they've played in outside of some of them playing for Ireland in the Six Nations. But I think they got their game plan wrong, or they have got the game plan wrong, and they tended to overplay. So at one point, they tried to take on the Montpellier pack with hard running, and almost play out the back too late. And then when they went out wide, there wasn't nearly enough creativity or diversion or good lines of running that you need to break down Montpellier. Like, to bring it back to the Connacht match, if Connacht could have fought off their scrum, our attack was good enough to actually beat them that day. If it wasn't for a few errors, this was just a lot of more errors of the Ulster game, and they almost tried to overplay and then go, actually, no, that's not working. Let's just keep going up front. And that clearly wasn't working. It was a really weird mix of ways not to play against Montpellier.
Yeah, it was a strange choice. Like I had the fear before this game anyway that it might kind of go the way it went, which was just that physicalness of Montpellier would just be too hard to deal with. Like kind of similar to what we saw in the Connacht game, a few weeks back, where you're just like, that's just a lot of power. It's just a lot of power to deal with, and it's some of the scores even, or some of the kind of like turnovers and possessions from Montpellier were not so, like, they weren't skillful. There was just
big
pure big hits, and it's just a lot to take. And I think, again, as you say, in a nervy start to a game, when you're then also just getting relentlessly hit hard, pushed back, muscled around, it's just going to hit your confidence a second time, right? It's just it limits you getting into a foothold into the game. I think to your point around like overplaying it, I think then they're trying to like, we can't go through this team. We've got to try and go around it in some level. Obviously, some of the coaching view is like, well, we can't go through them, yes, but we do need to get some level of stalemate here to be able to build. But they couldn't get a shot off like that. And no. Like, in fairness to Montpellier did not let them get a shot off. Like, I don't want to downplay how good Montpellier were. They executed their game plan flawlessly for most of that game.
Their defense just swallowed up what Ulster trying to do.
Yes,
suffocated Ulster incredibly well. And on top of that, they mauled when they didn't need to, just to drain the energy from the legs of Ulster. It wasn't mauling to score tries every time. It's like, no, we're going to maul at halftime around the halfway line, just so you have to put bodies in here and get more tired and just put lead in the legs and make it harder and harder and harder.
And I think people shouldn't underestimate like this. I think sometimes people think about the Challenge Cup, obviously, as that, like, and it is billed as that second tier European tournament, right? But Montpellier are second in the top 14 this year. Like, they're like, I know Toulouse are running away with it, but like, this is one of the best teams in Europe, right? Plain and simple. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is a team that if they had been in the Champions Cup for longer, like, would have been real contenders in the Champions Cup as well. Like, they would have muscled a lot of teams out of it. Like, they're a really, really difficult outfit. And I know Richie Murphy kind of talked about it in the post match, but like, it's a really harsh lesson to learn for Ulster, but it is a lesson to learn of like, you want to win European titles, guys, this is what you're dealing with. Like, this is what you got to get around if you want to win European titles, be it Challenge Cup, be it Champions Cup, right? So like, I think they will have to frame it in that context, because they were so resoundingly beaten like across the pitch for the 80 minutes that like the only lesson you can kind of take out is like, okay, that's the standard. Let's start working to that standard, right? We now know where the pitch is at and we need to get there. But like, it's a hard way to end your season, right? If you're Ulster, like Ulster had such a strong start to this season as well. But anyway, we'll get into that. In terms of the game itself, I just like,
it's hard to talk about because Montpellier were so dominant. Their scrum started to get started to build pressure and penalties, and that pressure just built and built and built. They were winning penalties, which gave them easy access.
Yeah,
it doesn't help when players just have a bad game as well. Say Zach Ward had some, I would say, had some, and I'm mentioning him and because he had more bad moments than anyone else on the team, more than anything else. Like for me, the fact that Doak and Murphy were pulled off at 60 minutes or 55, 60 minutes, that didn't scream confidence in what they were doing and what the team are going.
Yeah, I think that's a desperation one. That's like, well, we need to make some change.
Yeah. Cormac Isachuka and Balogun had good games. Like, you know, they were quite literally the shining lights of Ulster. Yeah. Cormac is constantly working hard, running good lines.
Yeah. I think you could see the gap that like McCluskey leaves in this team for this kind of game, just because he's such a physical player. There's moments in that game where you can see he's like, if McCluskey's there and he's like putting in those tackles or he's breaking through, he's getting an extra yard or whatever, it just gives you that foothold to then do something else, and that's what they needed.
Unless you burst forward from 12, not having to rely on your pack to just get you some go forward ball.
Yeah.
It's that literal, I have a back row that's too fit. He's the 12, and that's type of thing. And he was missing, and it was like it felt a year too soon for Postlethwaite to kind of to impose himself on this type of game. Next year, this is a different story, clearly in my mind, or even the year after, because McCluskey will still be around. But that I think some of the experienced heads there didn't stand up nearly enough. Like Augustus played well, but didn't dominate. Angus Bell, like O'Toole, like the front row there was some not experience, but there was a quality in that front five.
Yeah.
That I expected a bit more from and just didn't get. I actually think it was almost a blessing that Henderson was banned for this game. He would have given away another 3 penalties, and that's another 3 entries from Montpellier. That's he'd just been kind of giving away penalties recently. So in a weird way, I think that was almost a blessing for Ulster, because that scoreline could have ran away a small bit,
as opposed to the 59-26 it was.
Yeah, but like genuinely, who knows? Like maybe his maul defense would have been that bit better with that experience. He could borrow through or something. But he's just a bit, in his good performances, he has been a bit penalty prone. And you don't want to give Montpellier easy access. It's just. I genuinely, I listened to Hume after the game online. I just felt sorry for him. He I always think when the player is apologizing to the fans, they know, like there's nothing anyone can say, like to kind of go. This is one of those weeks where you're like, if you're a keyboard warrior, just go home. Like just put down your phone. You don't need it. You know what I mean? But you can see. These guys know, and that's kind of.
They were on the pitch. They're very aware of their performance, and also the opposition they were up against.
and like at the end of the day, Ulster needed everyone on that team to play 9 out of 10. To have a decent chance. And I think if they got a 6.5 to 7, they were doing well out of most of the guys, and that just wasn't good enough on an individual level, But this has been Ulster's form the last couple of weeks. It has been trending this direction.
It's dipped down, right? Like we've been talking about it in terms of like, I think, and we'll get into full kind of end of season reviews in a few weeks when the URC wraps up. But I would say kind of post Six Nations, like there's been a dip in performance there, right? And arguably because they're coughing up 7 players to Ireland in a way that they wouldn't normally, those guys are a little bit more tired, one way or another. And often those guys have been the guys that have been pulling them through, right? The likes of Nick Timoney and stuff like that. So like, it's not to say that those guys are the problem in that sense, but I think that disruption to your, like, even just from the simple thing of like, they're playing a different style at Ireland than they are at Ulster, and then they have to get back into the way they play at Ulster and all that kind of stuff. It just starts a trend that can be hard to recover from. And I think they'll be very aware of like the problems they need to solve next season, right? And to like, again, oddly enough, I think this is not a game they're going to look at to say these are the problems we need to solve. I think they will look at this game and say, right, the problem we need to solve here, to your point, is we need to make sure we're peaking at the right time, that we get our prep right for that week, that, you know, and for the weeks leading up to it, look at how we manage our rotation. How do we avoid the injuries that we have coming into this stage of the season? Like it's a, like their problems, as much as they manifested on the pitch, are kind of not pitch problems for this game specifically. For the season, yes, like there's individual performances there, but like a lot of their problem is just more about like they're still bedding in the fact that they're trying to be a top flight team in a way that they haven't been for the last number of years. And that is a shift in how you play, a shift in how you manage, sorry, not how you play, how you manage a team, and manage your player pool in that sense.
Yeah, I just think if we go back to the final, because it's something that I think the Irish teams will need to do a bit more of. Like you've heard me scream about Connacht not kicking enough, you know, in general. Once again, like Ulster were out kicked by Montpellier, not like actually weirdly only by one, but like they are by 4 kicks. But
the kicking was better in general. Like, you know, the quality of the kicking was better.
You know, like Ulster had more of the ball, but you wouldn't feel that. You know, it's that side of it, off the like conceding 11 penalties because you're just conceding the gain line all the time. You know, it was just really weird, and that's, I think, what Richie Murphy and across Ireland need to remember when it comes to cup rugby, especially. You don't want to attack from your own half. Like, can we get out of this habit of like we can run from here? No, you can't. Like, unless your set piece move can get you 70 yards down the road, down that.
Unless they're down to 14 or 13 and you think you can spread them wide and get a line break, like that's that. Then there's a logic to it. But if not, if it's 15 on 15, what are you doing? Like, just kick you need to leather it away, unfortunately.
The amount of times I think that on Friday night, and actually even yesterday, both teams have penalty advantage in their 22 and they're playing like, just take the penalty. Like, say, conserve the energy, leather the ball down the pitch and go again. You know, and it's that kind of, there's a time to launch and there's a time to do something, and it's annoying as this weekend of that in-game flow vibing of like, no, we're not doing well here, let's move down the road, let's take the easy way out, like Montpellier do, of like 3 phases. We're going, all right, down there we go, grand, play from there, and also overplay, concede a penalty or turn over the ball, and then you're into this like, oh no, now we're defending from our half instead of, it's just, that's the kind of stuff that bugged me. But no, I think at the end of the day that Montpellier were just a better team. They're more physically stronger, more organized, like really organized, in that you can tell that they're well drilled in their maul, their set piece, all those little elements are just so well drilled that it's very hard when you're not at that level to compete.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I think, again, there's to a certain degree not much to say about the game itself at this stage, right? Like, I think we can, as I said, we could talk at length about Ulster's season and what next season comes, but we'll leave that for a future pod. I think, I think you're completely right. Like, and it does lead me into my Irish word for this week, because I think it applies to both games, unfortunately, and not in the positive context, which is outclassed, which I assume there is not an Irish word for outclassed.
No,
it's an English portmanteau of a word to begin with.
Yeah, no, I don't think there is. I just think outclassed in English means that you were just, the other team was just so much better than you. And in Irish, we should a wad roa, you know, Montpellier and Bordeaux, we should pay like a wad roa the August line or Jar Shachtna. Our foot na parke. Oh, he've cousins August. Oh, he've go chin lishamal. So Montpellier and Bordeaux were far better than Ulster and Leinster in terms of defence and going forward with the ball this weekend. Just one of those days where two teams are on it and are able to just push on and go for the win. Because the Aaron Intach one assault plano Bordeaux is the Garrett's Martian. You'd almost enjoy watching Bordeaux when they attack like that and play like that. Not if you're a Leinster fan, but in hindsight, you kind of go, oh, that was really nice. Shame it was against us. You know, you kind of have that vibe. And I think we'll just jump into the Bordeaux match. There's not much more to say about that unless I start talking about the game in Irish. And you're like going, you're sitting there going, I
agree completely.
Now translate that again so we can have the second clip. Cool, gotcha. And so Bordeaux 41, Leinster 19, that 2:45 kickoff, all because of the Cannes Film Festival closing, which is my favorite little tidbit of information about why that kickoff time has always been kind of odd, but that's why. But I watched this game live, or up until the last like 10 minutes. I had to go to said wedding.
Yeah.
And
I did not watch it live because I had something on prior to the wedding. So I watched it today. Always fun to do when you know the result of a game. But it is interesting to watch a game like this knowing the result. Because, and I didn't talk to too many people about it. You and I had a little bit of a conversation last night at the wedding, but we kind of didn't talk specifics because you wanted to leave me kind of have my own opinion about the game. And saw lots of keyboard warriors today talking about how, again, throw the baby out with the bathwater and all this sort of stuff. But anyway, and like, you know, Leo needs to go and Nienaber needs to go, and how could Leo say we were unlucky and all that kind of stuff. So we were unlucky is what I'm going to say here. But in that way of you create your own luck. Right.
Yeah, I would
that's
agree
what it comes
with
down
that.
to, right? I think it's every split decision went against Leinster. And what I mean by that is, I don't mean that by the referee. What I mean by that is every way the ball could bounce that didn't suit Leinster, it bounced that way. Every time there could be a knock on, there was a knock on. Every time, like twice in the first half, we blocked kicks that led to their line out in our half because a finger grazed the ball twice, right? Just like, you cannot tell anybody that is not unlucky, but it is unlucky in the way that if you're not going to make the block, then don't attempt the block to a certain degree, right? Like, don't accidentally graze the ball, either block the ball or don't block the ball, as an example there. And that, particularly in that first half, that was constant throughout the game for Leinster. Just, they could not catch a break if they tried. But I do not think it was, I in no way think that was that just, well, you know, if the ball had broken the other way, Leinster would be in this game.
Yeah.
That's easy to say, but like, if Leinster had different players, they would have, you know what I mean? I'm just like, you know, it's a silly point. I think it's just the pressure that they felt. They were like, Bordeaux's pressure on Leinster in that first half. Because one thing a lot of people said was like, well, Leinster took the lead. And like, you know, so like, it'll be interesting what you think about the first 10 minutes. I watched the first 10 minutes. Leinster were lucky to be in the lead. Like, they got one possession that they managed at 19 phases is what it took them to get over that line. Talk about overworking the ball, right? Like, to get over the line. And the other 9.5 minutes of that to open 10 minutes was all Bordeaux.
But it was also a series of both teams just swapping possession and knocking the ball on because we're in a big game and everyone's like, and then Leinster have 60 seconds to a minute and a half of good possession in the right areas for the first time and are able to get over for the try. What that screen to me, and you kind of go forward as the Leinster, as Bordeaux kind of then build up, it's two things. One, like you said, that look, Bordeaux's access to Leinster's half was far too easy. Yeah. Just in general. And when you have an attack like Bordeaux's, that's just stupid. You know, it's
just don't let it be in your half.
Don't let it be in your half. And then the second thing is Bordeaux were scoring off 4 phases.
Yes.
You know, they weren't working hard for scores. You know, they were and that's the big difference. When I saw it at halftime at 35-7.
35-7 at halftime. Yeah.
This game was over not because Bordeaux were that much better or whatever. Leinster's attack is not set up to chase a game. Like, no, this is not attack. This is a team that's set up to pressure you, and you make mistakes, and then we'll be in your half. Yeah. And Bordeaux went, cool. We're 4 tries up. We're going to kick the ball down there and make you play from deep all the time. Yeah. And you're not able to do that. Thank you very much. We'll win the game.
Exactly. Yeah. And like, I think, so I would agree with that completely. I think like, I felt the build up this week was interesting to me, right? Like all, and some of it's just like media stuff, right? Where like they need to build up a game and they want to build up a game and all that kind of stuff. But even like people I was talking to, they're like, God, it's hard to know who's going to win on Saturday. I was like, well, it's likely to be Bordeaux, lads. Like, what about Leinster this season would give you the indication that this is a 50-50 game. Like, Leinster up against it in this game. And my big fear going into this game, I think I talked about last week, is like, you know, there's that old adage in like boxing of like, you know, styles make fights, right? Like, you know, different styles make fights. And like, there definitely is a version of this final where that is true, right? Where the Leinster kind of swarm defense contains Bordeaux enough, and the Bordeaux ridiculous attack finds moments to poke through, and it is this like wrestle of two different styles. But that is not what happened, right? What happened was Bordeaux did what Bordeaux do. Leinster played under their capability, but like I would say at about the level they've played most of the season. Right. Yeah. Right. I like under what we would have seen maybe against in the opening half against Toulon, but Toulon played a very different approach than what Bordeaux played. And like to your point of Leinster playing from deep and not knowing it's just a game, that is a Jack Nienaber way to play. Right, there's no two ways about it. Right, that's how South Africa played with him as coach as well.
But even Razzie has kind of went, we need an attack, you know, and they've brought in Corey Brown, and I would almost go, Tyler Blendahl's attack hasn't done much. Fair. You know, and that's it. Like point. As everyone's going like Jack's defense, like like Tyler's
but you're never going to contain that Bordeaux team 100%, right? So like you have to be able to hit back.
Yes, and that's why I put it on Tyler's attack and not having anything.
Not on Nienaber specifically. I get you.
This is I would. It's that whole thing of that luck, and why Leo says they were unlucky, because he has a very weirdly easy review. You know, it's an intercept. You know, it's
two of those tries, right? The first, like the
was from a one line out against the head and and swung across.
Yeah, well, the second two tries, let's say in the last two tries in the half for Bordeaux, right, in the last kind of 10 minutes. So one comes from a block down kick that again bobbles and bounces in all sorts of odd directions.
It just ends up in someone's hands, and
it doesn't end up in someone's hands. It ends up in Damien Penno's hands, and then he passes it to BLBRA.
Yeah.
So like the two best attacking loose forward like backs that you could find in Europe at the moment, right? Two people who absolutely love a chaotic ball, like in Leinster's half. So like that's a try. The other one is an intercept that is like, what was Tommy O'Brien even doing throwing that pass? Like there was no way.
It was
again unbelievably. I could see that it was going to be an intercept before he threw it, right? So like that's two tries. One you can chalk off and say, well, look, that is rugby. That is an egg-shaped ball bobbing around. There's no way to predict what those are going to happen. And you happen to have two of the best players in the world to take advantage of that moment. And then the other one is, Tommy, next time, don't throw that intercept pass. Okay, boss, won't throw the intercept pass the next time.
But and that's like, great. That's 27-19. That's 27-19.
That's a very different game. Straight away, that's a very different game, right? If you were 21-7 at halftime, you are in a fight in a very different way. And if you are 14-21 after 50 minutes, like this is a whole other kind of game for Leinster in many ways. Now they're still chasing, and they're still, as you say, a team not set up to chase. But like that's leaving aside the
you're not
chasing
as 30 hard. Points, like, and you're not forcing every attack.
You could take a 3. You could take a 3 and make it a 4-point game.
And your game plan can still work. You can still put pressure because they'll want to build ahead of you and all that type of stuff. So those things don't change, you know. It was really weird because I was impressed with Bordeaux's attack in general because they caused penalties with their speed of ruck ball, just literally demolished every breakdown. Leinster's like barge, and because they don't go for jackals, they like to barge through and just dirty ruck ball. Had no opportunity for that. Like that was gone. That was not an opportunity for Leinster's defense, you know. So it's all that side of it. That's once again that styles make fight, you know. And then they had a bench that could do the same thing from the second half. Leinster's lineup was poor. I think that's, you know, as well. For me,
it was fine for the most part, but it wasn't an attacking platform for them.
No, it needs to be. And I always think if you're doing that, lots of jumping in and out in the first one, you're worried. You're worried about Bordeaux
that they figured you out or whatever.
Yeah, like you're not comfortable with what you're doing.
Yeah,
Woki slap back is a prime.
It's a good example.
That, you know,
even trying to trick play, like
But even in the first half, one of Bordeaux's like attacking platforms was off a Leinster lineout. Like they just got up and stole it. You know.
Yeah. Equally, they like Leinster. I think again, right? Like and this has been a problem all season of like. Leinster had multiple entries into the 22,
but did not,
particularly in the second half, but either knocked it on scrubbed up a pass or coughed it up in some way, right? Like coughed up a penalty. They messed it up, right?
I think
in that 22.
But far too often they also did that thing that Ulster like for, like, okay, our forwards can just do this, like,
yeah,
lads,
just muscle it over for the next 10 meters, 15 meters, like,
and that was never happening. And and that never changed. What would vague silver lining here, but the subs who came on improves things.
They did improve things, yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, Bordeaux had their foot off the gas so hard in that second half. It wasn't
didn't
even
care.
funny.
Particularly once they got out to like 41, right? Or not even 41. But when they started kicking threes, you're like, yeah, they're just going to keep us at arm's length now for the game. Like,
and that was so smart of them to kick those threes. They just killed every bit of momentum Leinster trying to build, slowed the game down. Go,
But I think if Leinster had gotten a second try during the yellow card period, right? Like they had an opportunity to, right? Like I think Van der Fleer knocked it on again around the 22, and you could kind of see in the players of like this, like we've kind of lost. The game is going to get away from us now because they're going to eat up this time. They're going to be back up to 15. They get that over. There's still 3 tries down. Don't get me wrong. 3 tries for another 30 minutes is a big ask with no reply.
But it's doable. Like 4 is the problem. 5
5 becomes impossible. But I do like it is that thing of, I think, I saw people today being annoyed with Leo saying that they were unlucky and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, and I know some people are making a thing out of the fact that he was asked to rank which of the finals were the hardest loss, which is like, what a question to ask a coach. First of all, in the immediate aftermath of a final, he's like, they all are. I don't think of him in that context. And people are like, that's a terrible answer. That's an accurate answer. Like nobody sits there going like, let me think of all of the failures of my life and rank them in order.
Is it like, did they want to go like, we lost this one the worst, so this one clearly, and don't get me wrong, as much as I would agree that some of the access points for Bordeaux scores like derive from luck and a bounce of ball here, there. Bordeaux were clearly the better team in that first half.
100%.
I think I don't want anyone to think anything they said we said before this are like kind of like trying to make excuses. No. Like Bordeaux were top quality. Their attack is immense. They're like Luku. I was there watching him going, I just love his pass so much. And it's that pass of his forwards are set up 6 defenders out. They're not, and
some of the passing was just ridiculously incredible.
It's mad to say that Biabri scored 2 tries, and you wouldn't know he was on the pitch.
No, and even like in the first half, like there was it ended up going dead, right? It was early in the game where he kind of kicked past Hugo Keenan, and it was just such an intelligent and well executed kick where he's like stretched kind of like at it was almost
over his head from behind.
It was just like an amazing, like just the kick in behind, the way he did it, like it was beautiful to watch.
The thought of speed, if he went, I've got this ball, the only good option I have here is to kick it, and literally he nearly hits the perfect kick.
Again, just bounce the ball, right? Like it was just the bounce of the ball went against him on a hard pitch and all that sort of stuff.
And his sidestep that like literally broke ankles.
So good. Yeah, he's so good.
Was incredible. Like their ability to finish was so good.
And like again, Woki was fantastic in the game.
Yeah.
Like Miafau was fantastic in the game. Like they have such a, like they're the best team in Europe, right?
And then Big Ben comes on and just starts winning breakdown turnovers because you can't move the man. He's humongous.
He's humongous. But like,
and this will be a European dynasty team. Like this, you can see
they're in a small club now, right? Like they've won back-to-back European titles. Very few clubs have done that in European history. On the route to winning this, they had the hardest route they could get, right? Like they had a much harder route than Leinster did. They beat the current French champions in Toulouse, the current English champions in terms of Bath, and the current URC champions in terms of Leinster to win this title. So like there is no arguing that Bordeaux are the best team in Europe at the moment. Like
hands down.
And like were one of, in my view, in my head anyway, this was always going to be a Bordeaux or Toulouse win this year. Like that was like, as it will be probably for the next couple of years, because they're just 2 incredible teams. And everything we're saying about Leinster is not to be like, oh, well, like Leinster could have won this game. Of course, Leinster could have won this game. They were in a final. Any team in a final can win a game. If they played better and had a little bit more luck or created a bit more luck would be a better way of putting it, right? Because, so like when we talk about them being unlucky, this is more about like Leinster's performance put them under additional pressure. that Bordeaux took advantage of because they are as good a team as they are.
Definitely. And I think Bordeaux played, there's a template to play against Leinster, and that's attack from your 22. Like, once again, like I did for Ulster, Bordeaux kicked the ball. You know, this Bordeaux attacker, a flash, amazing and brilliant, kicked the ball 31 times to Leinster's 19.
Yeah.
You know, but they still they ran the ball 60 times less, but only made 60 meters less. Like, that's how intelligent they are with what they do with the ball. They don't waste energy they don't need to waste. And this match reminds me of the France-Ireland game. And I just wonder, and we go back to coaching, by the end of Six Nations, these Leinster players were playing a lot better than they are now.
Yes.
And I think I'm not saying throw the baby out the last one, like get rid of Leo and get rid of Jack and get rid of Blayendal. You know, they're the three main guys, main coaches. But something's not working there. You know, and the players do have to take ownership of this, because they're the one on the pitch. They're the one, like Hugo Keenan knocking the ball on the first 2 minutes. That's so unlike him.
It's very unlike him. Yeah. So, and like that, like Van der Fleer, like knocking on a ball, like in contact. Like it's like he's one of the safest pair of hands we've ever had in Irish rugby.
Like, how many times did they like win a turnover on the deck, then knock the ball on in the next ruck, in their own ruck? It's stuff like that. That's the players. That's the stuff the players have to take ownership of those moments in the game. But the general skill set of Leinster this season hasn't been good. Balls are dropping a lot more, and in a high pressure situation like a final, they're going to be amplified, and they're going to be more of them. Like,
and you're going to be punished more for them, right? Is the point here, right? Like, against the top end, like you're at the tippy top, right? When you're in a Champions Cup final, you're at the tippy top. You are at the best other team in Europe in that sense, right? And like that, it's the step down from Test rugby, right? Like European finals, top of the top 14, URC finals, you know, Premiership finals. That's your next layer from Test rugby, from that point of view. So like, you have to perform at close to that level, right? You have to be that sharp. You have to be that clinical in your performance. Your skills have to be that good. You cannot make that many mistakes.
Yeah.
And expect to not, like, the problem is, on a random like game mid-season, sure, you can make some of these mistakes and you won't get punished for them in the same way,
because it's a season and these things all wash out. But in a final, you have 80 minutes to perform at your best. And Leinster, like Ulster, had to perform at 9s out of 10. Easily. No one came close to it in the Ulster, that Leinster setup. Like, no one came near to playing that well. What I thought was good was, we'll go about the bench, because I think Osborne came on and did well, took the ball on well, ran really hard. What I think helped Leinster in the second half at least feel a bit more like they're getting into the game is the fact that Frawley ran the ball a bit more. Harry Byrne almost retreated back into that Ross Byrne of stand and sling, and that wasn't, the Bordeaux offense were eating that up. I'm like, cool, the 10 is not an issue. Go past him, nail everyone else, you know? And he didn't seem to just take those moments on. Maybe that kick on the full just ran his confidence on, once again, like the semi-final, the biggest game he's ever played in.
Yes.
You know, so you kind of hope for Leinster and him and some of these players that, okay, that's the jitters year done. You know, next year, if you're in this situation, like at the end of the day, given that Leinster are the bulk of the Ireland team, you know, unless something drastic happens, they should be the top 4 team in Europe, just de facto. You know,
they should be making semi-finals as a matter of cause, barring like major injuries and all that kind of stuff. And
I don't think that's hubris. I think that's just quality of squad. You know, and
it should be. Yeah,
you know, and if they're not, that's a bigger conversation. Fundamentally, Leinster being in a final is, once again, good. I think the manner of the loss is what the problem here is. You know, you can lose a final. You can't lose a final like this.
And I think that's the thing, right? Like, people often what happens with these sort of things is things get flattened, right? Like, so people will talk about that's 5 finals in a row that Leinster have lost. The manner in which they lost this final is completely unlike the manner in which they lost the previous 4. The previous 4 finals were arguably some of the greatest European Cup finals that have ever been played, right? They were full on, like, shoot the lights out, 2 teams performing at their absolute pinnacle, like full tests, full, like, just hard, intense games with like some amazing rugby, and it comes down to 2 points, 1 point, 3 points, a kick of a ball, extra time in one of the cases. You know what I mean? Like, against, again, best teams in Europe, La Rochelle, Toulouse, Saracens, all these teams, right? Bordeaux. This is the first time Leinster have been outclassed in a final. Yeah. Right. To use our word again, right? Like, they, against La Rochelle, when they lost those 2 finals, they were not outclassed. They were beaten, but it was marginal. Toulouse, right? Sure, they ended up losing by 10 points in extra time to go down to 14 men, but it was a draw, right? 80 minutes, it's a draw.
And it comes down to like 1 penalty in the last minute as well to kind of give Toulouse that.
And the greatest player in the world playing the greatest game of rugby he's ever played in his career, right? In terms of just a single one-man performance, like, in that sense. And like, that happens, right? That's the benefit of having an Antoine Dupont on your team. But it's not this loss where it's like, well, you were just outplayed for 80 minutes. Yeah, basically. You had a few passages of good play, but basically your game plan did not work and you did not perform what, like, even if they performed at 9s and 10s, I still think Leinster lose this game, but I think they lose this game like 25-20.
But I think we're talking about the game in a different way. Yes. I think we're talking about it in that context. You just talked about the last 4 games, great game, clash of styles, that defense smothered but Bordeaux brilliance, but because
this moment pressure, here, that moment there, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about. But we're talking, and the thing is, we are talking about those moments, but there's just so many of them because Leinster gave so many opportunities for them to happen. It was, it was just a poor, like, Leinster,
it's a bad performance. There's no two ways about it. It's a bad performance against the best team in Europe, and this is what happens when that happens.
And there should be a bit of, I'm not saying like an internal review, whatever. There'll be some soul searching with Leinster over the summer, and I think even in the next 7 days, because they do have knockout rugby, coming up next weekend, and you're kind of going, do the Lions next week get sad Leinster or angry Leinster? I know
what I'm hoping for, right? Like, but like, very hard to pick yourself up after a game like that, right? Yeah. Now, I've heard lots of players over the years talk about like losing finals and losing things like that. I think if you're a player, you absolutely want to be playing rugby this weekend. You do not want that to be the end of your season. You want to put that in the back of people's minds and your own mind as quickly as humanly possible, and focus on another game and go out and take another opportunity to perform better. So I expect them to play better, just because I think for them, they need to play better for themselves. Whether they win the URC this season or get to a final, that's a whole other kettle of fish. But I think just this upcoming weekend, they will be desperate to not have a repeat of that performance. And that could go badly, right? Desperation is not always a good thing in a prep week.
It's a really weird feeling. And there's 4 really good games coming up next weekend. Bank holiday weekend next weekend, isn't it? Yeah.
Bank holiday next weekend, yeah.
That's very nice. And we kick off with Friday, Glasgow versus Connacht. And apparently, if you listen to everyone, that Connacht are going to just win this game. It's just the fact I'm like, lads, it's Scottstown. This
is going to be tough, right?
This is going to be tough.
I think Scotland, I think Connacht have it in them to win this game, right? I think they're good enough to win this game. Will they win this game? Oof, that will be. This will be a tough ask.
Yeah, especially because as much as Connacht's form is very good, the last 2-3 games have been kind of jittery. Pressure hasn't bode well for them. Like that Edinburgh game where they had to win to secure Champions Cup rugby. They weren't great ball in hand going forward. Their defense saved them so often. And I'm just hoping that now that Champions Cup qualification is secured, that they can just go and win the URC with no pressure on their shoulders. Just every game is a shot to nothing, go and play. And that's what you want a team to do in knockout rugby, especially when they're the underdogs, if they keep winning matches the whole way through.
I think personally, Connacht and their style right, again, a little bit of the Lancaster thing, no different than when he was at Leinster. Of like, I think again, it's suited to knockout rugby, right? I think it largely, and particularly something like URC. I think there's enough grit there in the forwards with enough attacking flair to get you over the line in a lot of these games.
Yeah.
Whether you can, right? Like there's other teams that can do that too. And you have to do it the hard way. You got to go on the road for every single game. But they're definitely the dark horse, right? They're 8th position, of course, of the dark horse in it, right? They scraped in on the last day basically to get in there. So to a certain degree, all of this is gravy, right? Like you're in the playoffs again this year. That's an improvement on last year.
Oh, look,
I suppose I put it this way, right? If Glasgow win this game, no surprise, right? Glasgow top seeds, they're like 1 or 2 years ago, fair. It's at home. If Connacht win it, for me, it's not going to be a surprise. I think for some people, there'll be a lot of people who will be surprised. I won't be surprised.
And I think really, if Connacht win, we're just doing Glasgow a favour of making sure that they're not trying to find a stadium to play a match in 3 weeks' time.
Exactly.
We're just helping them out.
It's just reasonable.
Yeah, we're just doing them a service.
Yeah.
Saturday, Bulls v Munster kick off the quarterfinals at 12 o'clock. Bulls are winning this, right? Like, surely.
Yeah, certainly the way Munster have been the last few weeks, you would assume so. Look, it's again.
Bulls have done it. Bulls have done this in South Africa before. They've done this, and it would be
it's a big uphill battle.
Yeah,
it's a massive. I know it's 4th against 5th and all that kind of thing, but like Munster at the moment,
you can't trust that what type of performance they'll have. I think that's it. And
could Munster win it? Of course they could. They've got the talented players. They've got the capability. All that kind of thing. Will they? Based on what we've seen this season, it seems unlikely. Particularly down in South Africa, it's a really hard ask for them to go and win this game.
Yeah. I would say the Bulls will win this game, and Munster will come back, go like, 5th season on the pitch. We've done enough to do what we need to do and
beat Leinster this year.
That will be the highlight of the season next year, and
till they sort out the off the pitch problems.
And that's it. Like until that's done, the on pitch is going to hope for cover.
It's going to peak and trough, right? It's going to. The problem is here you're not going to get consistency, right? That's ultimately Munster's problem at the moment. Is you do not like they are France of old, right? That old cliche, right? Like
what Munster's going to show up.
What Munster's going to show up, right? We don't know what Munster's going to show up here. Is the travelling army of Munster of past going to show up in South Africa? Who knows? And
they haven't travelled well as a team this year. Their form away from isn't great. 2:30 Stormers v Cardiff. Looking forward to that game. If I'm home to watch it, but that should be a good game. I'm going to breeze past this a bit and say Stormers will win. And even though Cardiff have been quite good,
they've been again a little bit of a dark horse team. I think, and particularly in the last few weeks, they've been triggered and beat them only 2 weeks ago. Yeah,
but I think in South Africa with the travel and everything, it's and. Like listening even to how Cardiff had to get down there, it's 2 planes, it's all split up.
Yeah,
I think the URC works. I do. I like the URC. I wish there was a plane put aside.
But is there not an airline at this point? Has gone. You know what, lads?
We have an airline sponsorship.
I know. For 9 months of the year, there's a rugby tournament where we could fly 1 flight a week, guaranteed. Essentially transatlantic, Southern Hemisphere to Northern Hemisphere and back again. Like 2 of them sometimes. And like we'd be guaranteed at least a plane full, if not 2 planefuls, to just fly from Paris to South Africa. It's a little bit mad.
And it annoys me because you're a sponsor. Just put on a plane for the teams to go down for knockout rugby. Come on. But anyway, then at 8 o'clock, and you kind of go, why the big gap?
Champions League final.
The Champions League final is on, and this will be my pet peeve. The Irish Women's Six Nations
clashed with a lot of the URC, big URC
this year. And guess what's happening next season again? Another clash. With Interpros next year. Yeah. You're kind of going, lads, can someone just have a discussion amongst yourselves and change a time somewhere in the URC?
And to be clear, we're saying the URC should change, right? It is club rugby. Yeah. Club rugby should move around for international rugby.
100%. And given that they're Irish teams and some of them, the Irish should be going, actually, we should want people to watch the Women's Six Nations and keep this good vibes going.
Or maybe even go to the Women's Six Nations and spend some money on tickets and whatnot.
All that type of stuff. Hopefully someone sane and smart fixes that problem over the next while. But at 8:00 after the Champions League, because the URC do know how to manage around some things, Leinster take on the Lions when... Will it be destruction? Will it be a fate? Will it be a season that ends in a way that will be how can I put this? If Leinster lose, I think this is a failure of a season to a degree, because they need to make the semis of the URC minimum, in my mind.
Yes, I think so. I think, again, because normally making a Heineken Cup final, even if you don't win, it's a good season.
It's the manner
in which they lost, right? It kind of underplays that, right? But again, Lions are traveling up. Lions have not played well away from home, but they've had an extra week off. They will probably smell blood in the water after what they saw from Leinster this week. It is really up. I think this is psychology. This is, can Leinster get their head straight in 6 days to win this game? And I think yes, right. I think they have the quality of players and they have the fortitude to do it, but it's a maybe, in that sense.
I think yes, because as much as Lions have the exact recipe of how to beat Leinster and the style of play of this really wild, good pack, they're just stupid.
They won't make smart decisions.
They don't make smart decisions on the pitch, which I think that will lean into Leinster's hands. And there's that, and there was something else in my mind, but that's gone completely. I don't know what it was. I was going to say why, but it's that whole thing of kick the ball more and kick often and that type of stuff.
So we're saying 2 Irish wins this weekend out of the 3 involving Irish teams.
I think 2 out of 3. I believe Connacht will win for reasons. Just belief. It's just belief.
Believe.
It's not even a hope, it's belief. I think they're on this crest of wave, and if they can keep going up with Glasgow's small dip, it's intersecting at the right time for Connacht win. They then have to travel down to South Africa to play the Bulls, which is, the joys of it all. If Munster lose and
Thomond.
Given that Leinster will have the same problem that Glasgow have if Glasgow get knocked out.
Should Leinster do the fun if they get to the final in a world where Leinster get to a final and Munster don't? Should Leinster potentially do the funniest thing and the trolliest thing Leinster could ever do and host the URC as the home team in Thomond?
Yes, that would be the troll thing to do. They'll go up to Belfast. Don't get me wrong. Of course they will. But
it would be very funny to play. What would be entertaining, right? We'll just play a little bit of fantasy football here for a moment, right? This scenario is never going to play out. But how funny! Think of the meme potential. Just everyone, just imagine the memes. If it was a Leinster v Glasgow final, but in Thomond.
I think Munster.
Who would they cheer for? Who would Munster cheer for?
They wouldn't go.
Would they just burn down the stadium just because it had been tainted so much?
No, I think there'd be a cleansing afterwards for sure. No, this is going to be played. If it's a Glasgow, Leinster, it's going to be in Ulster.
It's going to be in Ulster. It's going to be in Belfast. But anybody else,
If Leinster are facing someone else, it would be so funny. For just all it would take is turn Thomond blue, and boom. Heads would explode. It would be hilarious.
Be a great way to get some extra Connacht fans, I think, right? If it was Leinster v Connacht in Thomond.
Go down someone on a brother. We drive down together at that point, But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens there in terms of the stadium setups for the finals. If it's in all fairness, there's a chance there that's not either Leinster or Glasgow, and it's down in South Africa again.
100%. It's a very, very high likelihood that it could be in South Africa. Let's be clear.
Stormers Bulls final. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
we're very much just trying to see how could you troll Munster the hardest here, right?
Yes,
but. Yes, interestingly, because of things being booked, if Glasgow make the final, it will not be in Glasgow. I believe it also won't be in Dublin if Leinster make the final, because I think both Croke Park and Aviva
are booked for concerts and GA and whatever. So yeah, it's just funny. But I think that is us. Before we hang up, do not forget to hit that subscribe button if you're listening to a podcast or if you're watching on YouTube. Hit subscribe, hit follow, hit comments. I've been actually really enjoying reading some of the comments coming through on YouTube over the last while. So thank you for all the kind mentions and saying how wonderful we are, and not actually, which is great. I like negative feedback just as much as positive feedback. Don't forget to follow me over on social media. That is second row. That is 2ND, not the word second. So that's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Blue Sky, all above. Leave comments, ask questions, and rate and review. Get involved in the pod as well.
So send us in your predictions for the playoffs. The URC currently have a thing up where you can predict your whole route. Go in, screenshot it, add it as a comment, send it to us. We're interested to see how you think it's going to play out.
Yes, and if the majority are Connacht fans, like who's listening to this podcast? Thank you all for listening. We will be back next week. Remember, if you want to get involved on your opinion, do get in touch. So until then, goodbye and thank you all for listening.
Bye-bye.